What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about something that has been in the news, but has not been focused on much. And that is Donald Trump wanting to remove white supremacist groups from the terror watch list that the FBI has. And for me, that's automatically like, what? For me, I'm like, are you seriously trying to remove these white supremacist groups off the terrorist list? Like, these white supremacist groups are like a threat. But remember, these are white supremacist terrorist groups though. So who are they really a threat to? Like, people who aren't white. And unfortunately, I think part of the reason why this story isn't really getting much coverage in the mainstream media is because, like, it doesn't affect white people, basically. It doesn't affect white America in a negative way, you know? And I also feel like Donald Trump is going to try to sneak in like Black Lives Matter onto the list, but he said that he wants to focus solely on Islamic terrorism. But I feel like he's still going to try to, sneak in Black Lives Matter onto the list as well. He's going to say, oh, I just wanted to focus solely on Islamic terrorism, kind of like as a diversion and, a smoke screen. So then we're like, okay, it's just about that. But then sneak in other, groups like Black Lives Matter on the sly, Because, like at one point, like the Black Panthers was on a list like this. It may not have been this particular list, but it was on a list like, oh, they're kind of like considered a threat or like a terrorist type group or something, which they weren't. But when you threaten white America, you become a terrorist. If you are a person of color, especially a black person, and you threaten white folks, threaten white America, they will label you a terrorist. They will label you a terrorist quickly, But you notice when like the KKK and neo-Nazis are doing their thing, acting the fool, being violent, encouraging violence and whatnot. They hesitate with that. They all of a sudden they can't speak. All of a sudden they can't write an article. All of a sudden they don't have anything to say, or either they want to downplay it if they do say something about it. And they just become hate groups. They're hate groups instead of terrorist groups. But you could argue, they could say that Black Lives Matter is just like a hate group. They could, but they're not. They're going to go for the terrorists because that has the more stigma attached to it, while hate group is just like, oh, they're just, have a difference of opinion. They're very extreme with their opinions. When we know that that's not all that the KKK and neo-Nazis are about, So yeah, for me, I'm like, okay, how is this going to affect black folks? Because you notice like Donald Trump lately has been targeting people, specifically people of color, non-white people. He's been targeting them, like with the, Muslim ban, quote unquote. I don't know why it's quote unquote, but I guess because it's like, well, like, it's a religion and religious belief. So I guess it would be a bit strange to ban someone based on religious beliefs. But whatever, you know what I'm saying though. So that was against, Muslims, And I know that it's a religious group, not an ethnic group, but a lot of people consider it an ethnic group for some reason. Kind of like how people consider Jewish to be an ethnic group as well. Another group that was targeted, Native Americans. I think he's going ahead and signed the whole pipeline situation into effect. Let's see. Mexicans / Latinos are being targeted with the wall, trying to get this wall built. And I guess to keep out illegal immigrants. But I'm like, well, a lot of these businesses hire illegal immigrants to do work for cheap costs so that they can keep down their labor costs and their product costs or whatever, and thus taking advantage of this, cheap labor force, So I don't know how that's going to go. And also who's going to pay for this. They were talking about having like a 20% tax increase on items being, I guess, imported from Mexico or either exported from the United States. One of the two. But yeah. Let's see. Which is going to affect working class people, that tax, But again, a lot of these people just feel like DJ Trump is Lord and Savior for them. He's saving them from Obama for some reason. I'm like, well, I'm not an Obama stan, but I'm like, well, Obama didn't really do anything to you white people that was like really catastrophic, like terrible. Other than, speaking about race every once in a while. But, let them tell it. Obama is like, Satan reincarnated and he's trying to like oppress white people, right? Let's see. Oh yeah, there's something else that I want to mention. The Daily Show host Trevor Noah wind up kind of like responding to Donald Trump. And I just want to kind of like go over what Trevor Noah said. And, Trevor Noah, I think this is good for him to be doing something like this because, Trevor Noah's been, on some thin ice lately. People have been going after Trevor Noah because he was caping for that Tammy Lara chick who, she don't get no name recognition from me. But that Tammy Lara chick, because he was caping for her on the low. He did like, talk about her beliefs and, kind of like show how kind of like dumb and, a hypocrite she is. But on like the same day, I think they're like going out for drinks or for coffee or something. And folks like, what? Like, what's that about? So hopefully Trevor Noah can like redeem himself and like get back on the side of right. All right. But let's go into what Trevor Noah said. All right. I got an article here, so I'm going to read through it and, talk about it. Donald Trump may have made terrorism a forefront in his presidency, but the Daily Show host Trevor Noah blasted him for ignoring certain terrorists inside the United States. Quote unquote, that is the most disgusting part of this all, Trevor said. During the campaign, Trump promised America first. That is true, but, like America as in white America. Because those are, for some reason, like a lot of folks don't want to consider people of color to be American. Even though the first Americans were of color and like white people don't really have a claim to this land. If you keep it real, keep it 100, they don't really have a claim to this land like they think they do. So, it's always interesting when, white people want to tell folks to go back to their countries, go back to their continents and all this. But I'm like, well, who are you to say it? Who are you? Because the last time I checked, like, no white person was indigenous to any part of the Americas, not North America, not South America, not Middle America, not Latin America, no part of Americas, like, so Like, what you talking about? Like, who you telling to go home? I think, like, really, considering your history in the Americas, maybe you should go home. Maybe you should go back to that, place over there where you came from. But, rumor has it is, like, that place was like, let's send our rejects over to the Americas. Let's send our bad apples and our killers and our rapists all over to America. Rumor has it. But back to this right here. So yeah, Donald Trump did say America first, but unfortunately he was just talking about white America. See, now he's the one ignoring all the hard-working white American terrorists. I guess the forgotten man has been forgotten after all. So yeah, I guess Trevor Noah he's being like, sarcastic with this. You might not be able to pick up on that because it's being I'm speaking it and it was written down, but he's being sarcastic, Basically he's saying like, oh, like it's about America first, but then you want to forget about this white American terrorism, Because again, it does not threaten white folk, White folks aren't threatened by the KKK and the neo-Nazis. And I don't know why. Well, they're not threatened because it doesn't affect them. So yeah, that's why. I would say like in the severe minority, there probably is a couple of white people who are threatened. Probably they're white passing, or probably have a relation to like maybe a person of color of some sort. Maybe like they have a spouse or children who are of color. So there might be something like that. But overall, as a general consensus, no, they're not like threatened by white terrorism like KKK and neo-Nazis. All right. The article goes on to say that, let's see, on Tuesday, Noah took aim at Trump's compiled list of terrorist attacks he claims the media ignored, even though news outlets proved otherwise. Quote unquote, if Trump wants to talk about terrorist attacks, let's start with the terror attacks he's ignored, Noah says, because what stands out about this list is, like in Ashy Needs Anonymous meeting, there were no white people in it. Okay, so, Trevor uses like humor to kind of like deliver his message a lot of times. Sort of like the previous host, Jon Stewart, he does do that too. Because Trevor is a comedian. So yeah, Trump has a list, and there's no white folk on his list of terrorists. What a coincidence. Like, really, huh? Let's see. Some names left off of the list were Charleston murderer Dylan Roof, Planned Parenthood shooter Robert Deere, and Pennsylvania police barracks shooter Eric Friend. Quote unquote, it's not like Trump's people didn't see these attacks. They just didn't like to talk about them, Noah continued. And the proof is in how they handled last week's Quebec terror attack when they initially thought there was a Moroccan Muslim shooter. Later, it was revealed that the shooter was actually white and not Muslim. So they were all over the story when it was a Muslim, when they thought it was a Muslim. Like, yes, let's just blast this story everywhere. Got Fox News on point, like just blasting this story everywhere. But then when the facts came out, because Fox News, they're allergic to the facts over there. They're about those alternative facts over at Fox News. But when the actual real facts came out, then the Fox News crowd was like, oh, they probably didn't even say, oh, they just pretend like it didn't even happen, Let's see. The shooter was actually white and not Muslim, but Noah pointed out White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, or Spencer, whatever. I think it's Spicer. Didn't acknowledge that. So yeah, they didn't. White folks staying on code. They ain't gonna call out white folks. Like white folks in a position to call out somebody, they're not gonna call out white folks, especially to protect people of color. Like that's why, like, black folks, we got to get on code too and stop trying to, feel the need to call us out all the time. There's a time and place, but it can be done in like a private situation, a private setting. See, quote unquote. So here we are, people, once again, learning that when a Muslim person commits terror, it's a part of a deadly conspiracy, Noah concludes. But when white extremists commit acts of terror over and over again, well, that's a part of a continuing series of isolated incidences. Yeah, because it's like so many examples of white terrorists or white terrorism, but they don't call it that. I know when that Dylan Roof shooter dude, when Dylan Roof went into the black church and shot those worshipers, like I think on Fox News, they were all talking about, oh, this is like about religion, even though Dylan Roof probably identifies as Christian, as the black church goers did too, followers of Christ and Christianity and whatnot. So they were all trying to make this into a whole like religious thing. They were not trying to touch on race at all in this, But again, this is Fox News, so, it ain't much like, Fox News ain't about ish, like, they're great entertainers, they're very entertaining, It's quite a theatrical spectacle to look at Fox News because, just turn on TV and you want to see some white folks just wilding out, acting the fool. Turn on Fox News, turn on Fox News. But that's the end of the article, and I just I'll give Trevor Noah props for being like the first person I've heard of to bring attention to this. The first person with like a large platform that he has to bring attention to this, because I think this does need to be brought to attention, and people need to know about this because this is kind of like a sign of things that could possibly be coming along the way. Like, there was this meme that was floating around the internet of like when DJ Trump goes into office, like, don't forget to set your clocks back 300 years. Like, ha ha ha, ki. But, it seemed like it could actually go something like that, though. And, also, like, as I mentioned already, like, he's going after, Muslims with the Muslim ban, Muslims / Middle Eastern people. He's going after Native Americans by signing in the pipeline into effect. He's going after Mexicans / Latinos with the wall. So now I'm like, okay, what he got in store for black people? I think this is kind of like a part of it too. And I think he's going to try to put Black Lives Matter on like some type of terrorism group if it's not already on a terrorism group. And also, they're going to be speaking in code when they go after black people, because they can't just go like, oh, this is about black folks, because it's about being covert. Even though Donald Trump is kind of like more so being overt with his like, racism, prejudice, bigotry, what have you. But when it comes to black people, it's going to be like in code, like inner cities, Chicago, I think I've heard that one come up too. Like, it's going to be like, oh, this is Chicago, but it's really about all black folks. Or inner cities, another one about black people. Thug is a word that is code word. I don't think they're going to use thug. Black Lives Matter is one. I think they'll use that one. They're going to use Black Lives Matter as a proxy for just all like, black organizations, to try and, demonize them as terrorists, And, if you notice, they have been trying to do that with Black Lives Matter. Even with just the phrase Black Lives Matter, they've been trying to demonize it. But also, like, they're trying to make it seem like Black Lives Matter is like a terrorism group. Like, oh, look at like Micah X, even though he had nothing to do with them. Black Lives Matter doesn't claim them. He did not claim Black Lives Matter. But, there is like a mission and an objective in effect, or in progress rather, where they're trying to vilify, the movement, kind of like how they did with the Black Panthers, and even to an extent with the civil rights movement, like, how the saying goes, like, if you don't know your history, you're gonna repeat it, and I feel like kind of like things are kind of like starting to repeat, to an extent. We might be setting our clocks back 300 years for all we know, or might have to, But, I do want to give Trevor Noah props for, speaking out about this with his platform that he has. Hopefully more, people of color speak out about this. And really, it should be white people speaking out about this. But we know how white folks work, right? We know how white folks gonna be. They're gonna stay on code because they don't want to call out their own. But at the same time, want to be all like, not all white people are bad. Not all white people are KKK members. Not all white people are neo-Nazis. Of course not. You don't need all white people to be those things in order to benefit from them. Look at the system that's in place now. Like, did every single white person in America have to be a racist in order to maintain slavery? In order to maintain Jim Crow? In order to, practice discriminatory practices that led to black people being like disenfranchised while uplifting and giving pretty much affirmative action to white people, but they're never gonna call it affirmative action when it refers to them. But again, white people should be doing it, but they ain't gonna do it because, well, they don't want to call out their own, and they just don't want to, they don't want to do it because at the end of the day, it don't really affect them, but there will be, well, I'll say that there will be no white saviors. There can't be. It wouldn't have taken this long if a white savior was even possible. And I don't even think a white savior is possible at this point. White allies are possible, but they are extremely far and in between. A real white ally. Not like these folks who be playing ally. These white folks who want to play ally. But I'm talking about real allies who gonna go hard in the dirt and willing to call out their own, they're willing to drag their own, who perpetuate racism. Like, that is possible, but it's far and in between, and I don't think you need to be holding your breath waiting for it. It's gonna have to be up to black folks and just people of color, but I specifically talk more so to black people for obvious reasons. So yeah, I guess I've said all I have to say. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot. If you got to the end of this video, thanks a lot. And if you did get to the end of this video, when you make a comment, if you happen to make a comment, post the word freedom if you happen to make it to the end of this video with your comment. Thanks a lot for watching. Adios and goodbye for now.